So here's the thing about Michael Scott from The Office. I have a little bit of a confession to make. The first time I watched The Office, I did not like Michael Scott. In fact, I was really excited to watch seasons 8 and 9 since it transformed into a more ensemble-based show. I will defend those seasons to hell, so expect a video on that, by the way. But I don't think it's out of pocket for me to say that Michael Scott, by all means, would be completely hated by everyone around him if he was a real person. Thankfully, we're talking about television like always, so that's not a problem. The number one reason why people enjoy Michael Scott is obviously Steve Carell. You gotta give it up to him. He's the master of cringe humor. You like the character because he makes the wrong decision in every scenario. He is like an adult child. I mean, think about him in season 1. Diversity Day is an actual nightmare episode. Like, holy shit, this is such a disaster, and everything Michael says in this episode, while trying to avoid being racist, mind you, is extremely racist. I could cut in a lot of this episode for examples, but I'll just throw in a few colorful clips.
Well, if you leave, we'll only have 2 left. Try my googie googie! Try my googie googie! Try my googie googie! Try my... Abraham Lincoln once said that if you're a racist, I will attack you with the North. Some ignorant ass always want credit for something they're supposed to do!
The way he treats the warehouse is so terrible, too. In basketball, I couldn't help but just hate him. I was so frustrated when his ego forced one of the parties to work more. Like, what the hell? But he does end up making up for it at the end by having no one work on Saturday. But, I know, they ended up having to downsize, so I don't know if that was the best decision. I recall texting Fosley often saying how much I wanted to quit watching this show just because of Michael Scott, but he urged me to get through season 1, and he was right, because season 2 helps this character a lot. They do a lot of restructuring, namely his hair, but I'm talking more about his character. The Dundies adds a lot of texture about how far he's willing to go for his employees. No one asked him to go that far, but he does make a fun night, and, you know, I would enjoy a Dundie Awards. Preferably a less overtly racist one, but you know, you take what you can get. In The Client, they actually show you why he's been at the company for so long, which is a much needed episode to show his overall use and give him a purpose besides the annoying boss. How did he even become a boss? This episode explains a little bit of that. And he definitely still has his moments of terribleness, but they're more pointed towards sympathetic. I'd cite Email Surveillance as one of them, where he crashes Jim's party. Hate that moment, so awkward, but Jim learning to include him is actually pretty cool, and resolves to a nice moment at the end. Good with the bad. Jim confides in him after the booze cruise, and Michael gives him some really nice advice, but then he spills it to the entire office. Good with the bad. But most importantly, they learn to make his character the butt of the joke more often. Think about The Injury, where he's begging for attention from all of the employees. He is insufferable, but it's fun to watch this man-child flail about while everyone ignores him. He is the butt of his own jokes. You really understand the attitude that the workers give him more and more as the series goes on. They include more of the dilemma between him trying to make everyone happy and having to deliver bad news from corporate. I think this works really well in this show, and is a more understandable form of Michael being annoying. You wish he'd just make a decision, but I can understand his trepidation. Plus, in Bring Your Child to Work Day, they make his life super sad. You can't help but pity him. It's an interesting thing to do for a protagonist. And it's also kind of hilarious. Plus, again, it serves to make him more the butt of the joke, which helps the joke in that Michael is not just being directly offensive. Season 3 does more of the same, namely putting him next to Andy, who makes him look like the sanest person on Earth by comparison. In the convention, he's annoying as always with the party talk and inappropriate with Jan, but he makes a huge sale, bigger than we've ever seen on the show, and it just does a great job to bring him higher than he was in the audience's standing. And when they team up as salespeople, we get so much more insight into how Michael works and how truly terrible Andy is at this job, which puts someone below Michael and helps us take his side. Plus, he gets some actual development in his relationship with Jan, and because she's a complete disaster, we can actually take Michael's side here too. There is a case to be made about Michael dragging her down, but I don't think that's actually what happened. Jan borderline loses it. Actually, not borderline. The reveal about the schoolgirl stuff is kind of horrifying to listen to. And losing the job at the end of the season is a super ego bust for him. He plays it off, but he definitely felt this loss, which is definitely important for his character moving forward. The upcoming seasons do more of the same, so I'm really going to start focusing more on key moments and not every single season's development. I like when he drives his car into a lake. That's good stupid right there. Dinner party is crucial for his relationship with Jan. Talk about losing it. Michael is getting straight up abused, which is so awful, but it helps us look at his character in a different way and helps us root for him because, you know, we want him to get out of that scenario. Holly helps his character a lot starting at the end of season 4. Finding another Michael Scott that is actually not offensive is super important for him, and I think Holly makes him much more mature in the long run. He learns a lot about how to be respectful in this relationship, and I really think it helps his character going forward. It even gives him enough confidence to quit when he isn't being valued. I actually loved his quitting scene, and the Michael Scott Paper Company arc is really awesome for showing off what his character has and how he helps the company just by being there. Plus, this storyline also serves to bond him and Pam together in a more permanent way, which makes sense later on when she's so sad about him leaving. When Jim becomes a manager, we get a lot more perspective of Michael's side making those decisions. It really makes up for a lot of indecision that we've seen from him and helps us to understand why this man has such a problem with making those tough choices. Even Jim struggles with it, especially in this season with the episode Murder. His cheering up strategy is actually a really welcome addition, and the game is super fun, and I'm glad that people actually ended up getting into it.
It wasn't me! I'm not going down for this!
Yeah, I want to go home.
Get the keys out of my purse, start the car.
The argument with Jim in his office is some fantastic character building for why Michael does this all the time, even though the game is stupid and barely anyone plays. It's a real treat to see people get further into it as the night goes on. I love the bonding with Pam again, especially after the recent storyline with Michael f***ing her mom. That is a really nice thing to have in there. The counseling episode in season 7 is fascinating as an analysis of Michael and an analysis of his relationship with Toby. Watching him draw people in the office and making Angela taller than Dwight just says so much about how he views everyone through his managerial eyes, and I really respect them for writing this episode in season 7 because it's a good episode to get before he leaves. Overall, they give him a nice textured relationship with Holly when she comes back, which obviously was a very welcome return, and then, of course, he has the best send-off after more development of their relationship, and we get to see and cement them as an actual couple that we root for and want to see happy. I love when Pam sees him off in the airport. It's such a beautiful relationship that has grown so much since the first season. She completely hated him at first, but grows to really love his presence and back him in all of his plays. They grow nostalgic for the office family that they had, and Pam actually cries upon seeing him go. Jim's speech about what an awesome manager Michael turned out to be is interesting, and I definitely wouldn't see it coming from the earlier seasons, but the key phrase in this monologue is what he turned out to be. Because at the end of the day, they ended up really enjoying Michael, even if they made fun of him all the time. For as much as Michael forced that family thing on the workplace, it did end up actually happening, and he gets the happy ending that he deserves after all of that development. So that's why people like Michael Scott. The point is the writing and humor kind of changes to make him on the more sympathetic side, rather than to make him just the asshole, we hate him, he's awkward, which is what season 1 started out as. I really appreciate the show for having a really nice character arc for their main protagonist. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video essay, let me know in the comments below or support us further on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/TV_wins for early access to all of our videos, full-time reactions, and the ability to vote on new shows. So if you want to support us further, that is a great way to do it and also get new content for yourself. But if you can't, that is not a problem. Like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you can because we really appreciate all of your support. Thank you so much for watching this video, and tell me what character in The Office is your favorite. Personally, Michael is not my favorite character, and I will not reveal this episode who it is, so we'll keep that mystery for a while. But I will see you guys next time, and goodbye!